It was a tail end of January and really hit me hard the beginning of February. I was isolating, didn't really want to socialize or be around any people, including my wife, son, my kids, and was found myself laying in the spare bedroom watching TV quite a bit. Was just had a dark shadow uh, overlay. I didn't know what it was, but I knew that something was lingering, something was doomed, but I couldn't put a finger on it. I just felt really, really depressed, anxiety ridden. Like I said, something was always on the brink of something bad was about to happen, and it was just a really ill feeling. Um, and I started. A friend of mine introduced me to watch Fantastic Fungi and a couple other shows on Netflix, and I started watching those. And where I was at, I was taking pharmaceutical, clonazepam to help with the anxiety, and that just kind of dampened it. And then Ambien to help me with my sleep. And doing my research on those pharmaceutical drugs, I knew that they weren't good for me, and I'd been taking them for so long. I knew that it had to stop, but I was just in a really bad place. My life's been full of chaos, and I've thrived in it. Um, and for all intents and purposes, my life is really good right now. And I think everything from my past, the PTSD, stuff as a law enforcement officer, probably concussions, playing a little bit of college football, finally has caught up to me where I had a lull in my life and I just had to deal with it. And that looming danger, that looming dark cloud it was overwhelming. I think I've told you this before, but the breaking point was I went to a Super Bowl party just in February, just a couple months ago, with two other couples, and I just didn't want to be there. I had to leave at halftime, take my wife away, and I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to, and these were people that I knew and socialized with on a regular basis. Um, it was that bad, and didn't want to sleep in bed with my wife. It was a bad deal. And so I started researching psilocybin, and then started looking into retreats, and um, ended up obviously linking up with you and Sayulita. I did a little microdosing beforehand. That was very helpful. Um, I was very set on what my intentions were and what I wanted out of Sayulita. So I went down there on a mission. I took part in all the activities, the yoga, all that. But really, I was there for the psilocybin ceremony. It was very intense, but very, I was, you're conscious through the whole thing. But the ceremony gave me everything I wanted and then some. The two main things that I gained from the ceremony were peace and love. Everything that, all the trauma that's ever happened to me, all the negative aspects that have ever happened to me um, came to me. I dealt with it, but everything came back to peace and love. And the answers was just so simple. Um, I even laughed, cried a little bit during the ceremony, but it gave me an overwhelming sense of peace and perspective like I haven't had in literally 30 years. I haven't had this amount of peace and perspective. And with peace and perspective, the anxiety and depression completely went away. The PTSD, all of that. I as opposed to the pharmaceutical drugs that I was taking before, that only kind of dampened or suppressed the feelings I had for a short period of time. I went down to Sayulita, Mexico, to the wellness center, and Nirvana and her crew down there that performed the ceremony. Um, I'm healed. I'm come back. I'm not taking. Obviously, I haven't gone back to any of those drugs, but I'm legitimately have a sense of peace and love in my heart that I don't remember ever having. I don't want to get choked up thinking about it, but it's overwhelmingly an overwhelming emotion that I have. Even when I talk to my friends and family now, since being back, I do get choked up, and my friends and family have seen the difference in me. I'm a man of a little bit less words because I do process things a little bit differently and put things into perspective. Whereas people in my life get pretty worked up over things that don't seem they seem a little bit more trivial than they probably would in the past. Um, but the blessings that I've gained from going through that ceremony, again, it was perfectly exactly what I needed. And again, the peace and love that I gained from it was overwhelming. Since being back, um, again, I noticed we were just talking about it, triathlon. I haven't competed in triathlon in a couple of years, and I just got a random email yesterday from an old sponsor. They're going to give me a full sponsorship and pay for my, race entry, airfare, hotel to go do Escape from Alcatraz triathlon, which is my favorite triathlon of all time. I love the race. I've done it 3 times. Um, it's it's hell for a couple hours, which is awesome. I love taking on those kinds of challenges. I haven't done it in a couple years, and so I was blessed to get that email, and I accepted. And so I'm going to go do that here in about 6 weeks. Um, but just being back and being in the imperfect world and just having this peace and love, and just the perspective I have on life, it's given me a new sense of direction. It's made me so much more calm and peaceful in stressful situations. I coach youth football, and here in Texas, which kind of can be that's a different subject for a different day, but it is a little bit out of control. And so I feel very blessed to be the voice of reason for these young men. And I don't know, the ceremony was amazing. It was intense, but it was exactly what I needed. I could go on and on about the actual ceremony itself, but um, the beginning of the ceremony, I saw peace and love like in the fifth dimension from my friends and family, and my ego was, shot down. We have a false sense of reality of how we see other people seeing us, if that makes sense. And this ceremony breaks that down, and I think you get a very good idea or a perspective of how people actually see you, and that is overwhelmingly peaceful. And I mean, the peace I gained from that and love for my friends and family um, is overwhelming. And then, of course, the other trauma that was in my life between combat, um, you know, from the Marine Corps and, obviously overseas in combat and war, uh, everything came to the forefront, and I dealt with everything. And then out the back end, I have a very good, clear understanding of how I'm going to deal with some of these things that we can't avoid going forward. If I'm starting to feel myself thinking about some past trauma or whatever, I know how to combat that now and not fall victim to that trap that I was in for so long. Um, so, in short, I was a mess. Uh, January and February, I didn't know what to do. I was at wit's end. When we talked before, when I initially talked to you, I was crying. I wanted to gain my life back for my wife, my children, most important people in my life. And yeah, I cried on our initial interview that I was just desperate for any kind of help, any kind of solution to where I was at. I didn't know how to solve it. I didn't know how to solve it. I didn't know what it was, that dark cloud. I did some microdosing, helped, got me to an even plane. Went to Sayulita, Mexico, and again, Nirvana and everybody down there that is a part of the retreat was so helpful, kind. Everybody was kind and loving. I didn't feel it felt so warm and welcoming to be there and be a part of that retreat. And then the ceremony was amazing. It gave me everything I needed and then some. and it's just been a rocket ship afterwards. On a side note, when I left Mexico, my flight got delayed like 2 or 3 times. I was supposed to leave at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. It got delayed 45 minutes, then 30 minutes, then another 30 minutes, until finally at 5 o'clock, a lady comes on the intercom and was like, "This flight has been canceled to tomorrow morning at 11." And I mean, you'd thought you'd canceled Christmas in that airport. Everybody was yelling and screaming, and I laughed. I literally laughed because it's completely out of our control, and I'm in a beautiful city in Mexico. I mean, it wasn't like I was in Flint, Michigan in the middle of winter. And I just walked down to the counter just peacefully and was like, "Hey, so what do we do now? Do I just come back?" He's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, sir. Let me give you this bus ticket to this resort, all inclusive resort, by the way, where we stay at night." And then they picked me up the next morning. I jumped on a flight the next morning. Life was rough, right? But that peace and perspective of, just seeing other people, the energy they have, and where I'm nowhere near that anymore. And I just have a sense of peace and love in my heart. And I'm walking around with a new lease on life, and I just love it. It's overwhelming, and it gave me, yeah, like I said, a new sense of life. And so I'm living for the day, for the moment, and enjoying all the blessings that are around me. And with the any kind of turmoil that pops up, I have a new set of tools on how to combat those things. So it was a real blessing. I can't say enough about Nirvana and the Sayulita Wellness Center. Uh, I feel so strongly about it, and so strongly that I think everybody should do a psilocybin ceremony retreat. Everybody on the planet has trauma. I'm not special. Combat, football, it doesn't matter. We all have trauma. We all deal with it in our own way. I'm so serious about this treatment and how effective it is. I want to take my teenage daughter and my 21-year-old daughter to go down there. There's absolutely no risk of any side effects, and on the backside of it is so overwhelmingly positive. I don't see how you can't not want to go do this for any other reason than to just gain peace and perspective, and a reset on life. And I'm just truly blessed that I found this medicine. I wish I had known about this medicine 30 years ago. It wouldn't have taken me so long to go back there and do this reset. But I'm truly blessed for Nirvana and the Sayulita Wellness Center.
Thank you for sharing, Travis. Man, that's an incredible story and an incredible journey. And I remember how concerned you were that, before you went into this, that this was going to work for you and that, you were going to get this profound outcome. And I remember just talking to you, seems like every day. I was just like, "Travis, it's going to be fine. This has happened. This is like what we see hundreds of people just go through this exact same process, the same place you're at.
Let's call it what it is.
And have that breakthrough. And just incredible to see you now and to see this transformation. And it just lights me up, man. It lights everybody up. I know you see it in us, and it's just a pleasure to be a part of this journey for you, man. And man, I'm out of questions. You basically just told the whole story. So that's great, man.
The reality is, prior to me going, I was in contact with you. I was anxiety, depressed, ridden, and I needed you to talk me off that ledge just about every other day. I was stressing out about everything, and I feel guilty because I haven't kept in as much contact with you since leaving the retreat, but I'm at such peace and have so much perspective. I'm healed. I'm literally healed. So I apologize for that, but you definitely talked me off the ledge prior to going, and what a blessing going down there and going through that.
I was like, all you gotta do is just show up. Just show up. Get on the flight. We'll be here, and we'll take care of the rest, man.
Yeah.
And your family for life now. So that's just how it works, man. I really appreciate everything and you sharing your story. And this story is just gonna help hundreds more lives, transform. And I'm happy to have you on the team, man.
I appreciate it, brother.